There's a ton of noise out there. So how do you get decision makers to pay attention to your brand? Start a podcast and invite your ideal clients to be guests on your show. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm James Carberry.
And I'm Jonathan Green.
Let's get into the show. Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We are here today with Mark Organ. He is the CEO at Influitive. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, James.
I'm really excited to chat with you today, Mark. We started talking about a month ago, maybe a few weeks ago, right before your annual conference, and stoked that we got you on. Mark, you recently wrote a book called The Messenger is the Message. Is that right?
That's right.
Awesome. I want to talk about some of the key themes from that book. But before we get into that, I'd love for you to tell our listeners just a little bit about Influitive and what you guys are doing up there.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. So a little bit about Influitive, and the book, The Messenger is the Message, have a lot in common, as you might think. At Influitive, we help companies discover, nurture, and mobilize their customer advocates and other advocates, including developers and partners, employees, and discover, nurture, and mobilize them to do way more than really what most people and companies would think is reasonable for customer advocates to do. And that is, also a lot of what the book is about as well, which is, how to get a lot more value from your advocates by giving them a better experience, which is really where the origin story of Influitive comes from, where I used to be founder and CEO of Eloqua, and one of the things we noticed was that these best-in-class sales processes, where you'd win these deals in a few days as opposed to a few months, that those had tons of advocacy all over those processes, in terms of referrals on the way in and great case studies and references on the way out. And so it was hard to generate that advocacy.
Yeah.
And so where Influitive came from was trying to solve that problem, how to systematically generate a lot more of these referrals and videos and 5-star online reviews and all these things that we as B2B folks really are dependent on for our success. That's really where Influitive has come from, and we're still very much dedicated to that idea of how to help companies systematically generate this high-quality activity. And our big insight was that by providing a better experience for advocates, you will actually get a lot more of that high-quality advocacy that we all want.
I love it. And so Mark, let's just dive right in there. So if creating this advocacy experience is what we should be trying to do, I guess my question is, where do we start? How do we go about trying to create an advocacy experience that actually creates raving fans that kind of do our marketing for us?
Well, I think in order to answer that, it might be useful to take a step back, and I'll talk a little bit about the foundational research that I did, actually even back when I was at Eloqua from 2007 to 2010, even before I started Influitive, and what I learned about what makes advocates tick, because it's actually different from these people in their roles as customers. And so I interviewed literally hundreds of these folks. These people, we call them super advocates. They do over 200 pieces of advocacy a year, to understand a simple question, which is, what would it take for you to triple the amount of activity that you do? And the reason why I asked it that way was really as an accident, that while I was at Eloqua, we had this awards ceremony called the Marquis. They still do it, the Marquis Awards. And what they found, again by accident, was that when you give people awards and you invite people to a gala dinner and entertain folks and make them feel really good, then they respond by doing a ton of advocacy. Right? That was a light bulb moment that went off for me.
Yeah. That
there's something special about the experience that we created that drove people to advocate, even though we didn't even ask for it. That was the amazing thing. We didn't even ask for it. They did it. So that's when the light bulb went off for me, that there's something special that we did at this award ceremony. And it turns out, I think what it is that we did there was something we call social capital.
Yep.
And social capital is this increase in reputation, that these people have got by just being at that event. So social capital is one of those things that drive advocacy. Another thing that drives advocacy, which you could feel at this event, is something that we call exclusive tribe. So human beings love to belong to something that's bigger than themselves. And ideally, it's exclusive, right? That's why people paint their faces at, at sporting events, and they tattoo like Harley Davidson on their arms, stuff like that. Like, why do they do that, right? Well, they do that because they want to feel like they belong to something. And especially now when you have like the decline of organized religion and a bunch of other things, like it's never been more important for people to feel like they belong. And so when people are at this award ceremony, they felt like they were in the club. Like they were in something that's quite exclusive. So that's the second thing. And the third thing that we find it really drives advocacy is being able to measure one's impact.
Okay.
At this award ceremony, you had all these stories of people talking about the impact that these people had upon their companies and upon Aliqua and whatnot. So those are the things that we see time and time again in terms of what drives advocacy, at least at a high level, at a strategic level.
Yeah. So how then, Mark, does that translate kind of outside of that specific use case of, putting on an event like that? So how does that translate into kind of everyday activity that we can be doing as marketers to create a better advocacy experience?
Yeah. Well, I think it really starts with a community. I mean, that's what we learned from, again, those Marquis Awards, that became a mini community. That was a special rarefied club of folks, and people felt, very, attached to one another. And I think that is the start of a great advocate experience, is a powerful community where people feel like they're part of an exclusive tribe. Right? So if you look at the advocate hubs that we power, they all have their own special personality. They often have like these inside jokes that even we don't really understand. At Influitive, I mean, one of our customers, they call their hub the Panda Assimilation Society or something like that. I really have no idea what that means. But let me tell you, those insiders, they completely get it. They feel like they are indebted to the organization for creating this group of panda assimilators or whatever it is. And there's that feeling of insiderness, right? With respect to, impact, we strongly advocate for, and we have technology to help companies measure the impact that their advocates are making. So, for example, if someone's giving you a referral, you should let them know how the referral is doing. How is it progressing through the pipeline in Salesforce? If they've generated a 5-star review, how many people have given it a thumbs up? Has anybody cited it as a reason for why they purchased? If you give people that feedback, they're much more likely to keep doing it. And then social capital, as people have a better experience in life and in his career as a result of their advocating, they're more likely to advocate a lot more. So creating a community that drives those things is a big way to generate more advocacy, which I think is necessary, but is not sufficient. We also have learned a lot from the habit-forming games that me and a bunch of other people here are kind of addicted to.
Okay.
And the way I look at it is like games, like video games, and even other than video games, really all games, have won the Darwinian war for attention. And that is like attention, like Satya Nadella wrote a memo to his staff and said, human attention is the most scarce commodity.
Yep.
It's more scarce than plutonium. Okay.
Yep.
And games have won that, right? I bet you that a number of people listening to this podcast right now is spending probably too many hours playing some game. And no one's had to force them to do that. No one's had to, they haven't had to do any training. They do it because they love it, because they enjoy it. And it's because these games have specific habit-forming drugs in there that get people to want to play again and again. And so we put a lot of those sort of attributes, these advanced gamification techniques, into our communities. And that's something that we do advocate for. And even if you create an advocate program that doesn't use our software, and we have lots of companies who do that, right? Who have something running on Slack or Facebook fan page or even just a dinner that they get once a quarter, and they get their customers together. We advocate building in these sorts of ideas. So the social capital, the exclusive tribe, the impact, but even the gamification. I have dinners all the time. In fact, I'm heading out to Atlanta tomorrow, where I'm having a customer dinner. But we're going to have a contest at this dinner. We're going to have prizes. There are people who are going to win big, and there's people who are like not, who are still going to do good. They have a good dinner, but they're not going to win that prize. And that's one of those things that we've learned just makes things more fun and interesting. Is when you gamify things. So you put all those together, and you end up with a much better experience, more fun, more rewarding, and also more efficient. It's one of the things that we learn from advocates that they really want is that they actually like advocating. They just want it to be fast and easy and frictionless. That's, if you think about right now, I bet you right now you can think of a couple of companies that you just love, a couple of products that you just love, and you're not advocating for it. Why? Because it's too much friction. Yeah. It takes work to figure out, well, who am I going to refer this to? And I got to write the email, and then never mind. Look, there's a squirrel. So if you make it easy and efficient for people, they'll do a lot more of that activity.
Yep. What has been, Mark, as you've been talking about the book since it launched, what's been the feedback from people that have read the book? What's maybe been a piece of feedback that you weren't expecting to, an insight that people are saying, man, I really got a lot of value out of this part of the book that maybe you weren't expecting to hear, but really.
I got a couple pieces of feedback. Attention. One, I got some feedback from people saying, I wasn't expecting to like the book this much. It is actually pretty entertaining. There's lots of examples that I didn't expect. I think a lot of people expected that I would just talk about our customers and what they're doing. And there's some great examples for sure from our customers, which tend to be B2B tech companies. That's 90% of our customer base today are B2B tech companies. A lot of people listening to this show are the kind of people that we work with.
Okay.
But I really worked hard to get a lot of examples that are beyond our customer base, a lot of examples from the B2C world. I think there's a lot to learn from B2C, as a B2B company. And so I've got examples from, for example, Lego, which transformed themselves from a near bankrupt producer of plastic bricks in 2003 to today being the most profitable toy company in the world. And they've done that through their several advocate communities that they've created.
Wow.
For teachers and for kids and parents. A lot of the best ideas for new Lego products and services don't come from their own product folks. They come from their customers. Pretty powerful example. People resonate with that. Talked about the story of Gold Corp, which was also a near bankrupt gold miner that couldn't find its own gold on its property. And they open sourced all of their data, and they let their advocates in, and all armchair geologists found the gold. And today it is the most profitable gold company in the world. You'll hear this trend of profit and advocacy. They absolutely go together. And in the book, I explain why it's so crucial if you want profit, why it's pretty important to have this unpaid army of people doing your marketing for you. Those are absolutely correlated. But, those are a couple examples that come to mind. Talk about Airbnb and how, Airbnb leverages its host advocates to do a lot of its policy work and to do a lot of its innovation work. And so people found those to be quite entertaining and appropriate thinking.
What are some of the B2B examples, Mark, that you maybe shared in the book, or maybe it's not in the book, but kind of a case of kind of outside the box thinking or creative advocacy program in a B2B context?
Sure, yeah, so several I could talk about, and I guess one of the themes of the book is that advocates can do just about anything, right? So that from the top of the funnel to the bottom, and then so from generating awareness all the way to closing deals, but even beyond that, in terms of mitigating churn, driving innovation, right? There's and even getting into operations and strategy. So we talk about a lot of examples there. A lot of the examples do focus on the marketing department. One that comes to mind, Ceridian, which you'll hear this story again and again. close to bankruptcy and also ran in the payroll services space. They acquired a tiny software company here in Toronto called Dayforce. They had about 100 employees at the time. This is a $7 billion company that acquired them. Within 6 months, the CEO of Dayforce became the CEO of Ceridian, which is a crazy story that I wish was repeated more in the press because that just never happens. Like imagine, Microsoft or something acquiring some small startup, and then 6 months later, like that startup CEO is now running all of Microsoft.
Yeah.
Like, it's an interesting strategy, but the CEO is a brilliant guy, and what he told the board is, we need to change this company. We need to build it all around advocates. That's what I think the mission of Ceridian should be, is to delight customers every day and to mobilize them to do the sales and marketing for us. And the board loved the idea and said, "You're hired. Well, you're running the whole company now. Good luck."
I love it.
And to his credit, I mean, David Ossip has done just a magnificent job. I mean, not just with the customer advocates, but he's made all his employees advocates as well. He's shot up to the top of the Glassdoor list in terms of the most best company to work for. Keep in mind, this is a company founded in 1957. Right? This is an old company that's been totally transformed by betting on advocacy. And just see how crazy it is. Like they in their trade shows will staff the booth with customer advocates. So most of the people in the booth are actually not employees.
That's
and
incredible.
they use our software for this. They literally will run a challenge and said, hey, for 1,000 points, do you want to be in the booth and sign up for booth time? And if you do, you get to meet some great people and you get to hang out with us in the after party. So that's the perk, right?
Got it.
Is that you get to hang out with us cool people. And I mean, imagine the experience too for a prospect. Instead of talking to a sales guy, and you don't always talk to the best sales guys when you're in meeting in the booth. You're talking to people who've just started, who are trying to learn their script, right? And now you're meeting with a VP of HR from one of your peer companies, and they're showing you the demo. I mean, it's just an awesome experience.
That's incredible. I would have never thought about doing that. That's an amazing example.
Yeah, and it just goes to show how forward thinking they are and why they're doing so well. HP is another example of a pretty big company that is transforming themselves with advocates. They've had, entire ebooks. So these are like 40-page PDFs that are created entirely by advocates.
Wow.
They have something they call their conveyor belt. So they will put out a challenge to say, hey, what should we write about? Because, you guys are not the same as us here in marketing, right? So we want to know what's important to you. And so they'll come back, advocates will come up with ideas for what to write about, and then they'll put another challenge saying, hey, we had 7 good ideas that had multiple votes. Which one would you put as your number one? And so that there's a whittling down to whatever is the best topic. And then they'll say, okay, now we have our topic. Who wants to participate in writing a page? And so people will do that, and they like to do that because they get their name in lights and whatnot. And then so on and so forth, all the way to distributing the ebook. And so you have these ebooks that have had almost no HP involvement other than coordinating the process. Wow. And so the cost of creating that content is a small fraction of what it would normally cost. Yep. But more importantly, the quality is a lot higher. So when you look at how well that particular document has done, it converts at a much higher percentage than an ordinary, house-produced people.
Because from start to finish, it's in the voice of the customer.
Well, and that's because it's on the right topic, it's in the right voice, it's got the right stories and numbers in it, and it's being distributed by peers. Yep. So of course it performs better. Yep. Right? I mean, that's been the message of companies, or the message of sort of lean startup and product management is, hey, get out of the building and start talking to your customers and understand their needs better and have them do more of the work. And what advocate programs do is allow you to do that scalably.
I love it. Mark, this has been fantastic. I love that you shared those examples. I had never thought about advocacy in that way. If there's somebody listening to this, obviously they want to check out your book. Is Amazon the best place to find The Messenger as the Message?
It is. Yeah, we're working on getting it to other channels, but I mean, Amazon really is the 8 million pound gorilla these days.
Yep, it is. So they can find your book there. what are some other ways that they can stay connected with you and with Influitive?
Yeah, that's great. So I'm pretty active on social media. So I'm at Mark Organ, all one word, on Twitter. Please connect to me on LinkedIn or Facebook. We write tons and tons of content, and of course our advocates write a lot of that content as well. That's on the resources page of influitive.com. Tons of free content, increasingly ungated content that we really want to give to the world. So we would invite anybody to come to the resource page and read lots of stuff that have been created on everything from how to generate more referrals to references, case studies, videos, how to provide a great advocate experience, how to do better ABM, which is a big topic for us these days.
Yep.
How advocacy and ABM goes together. We call it AAM, or Advocate Account Management Marketing. So all that is there for you. And we just want more people to join the club in terms of advocate marketing, whether or not they're customers. So
I love it.
Want to invite everybody to do more advocate marketing, and we want to be your partner to help there.
I love it. Mark, thank you so much for your time today. This has been incredible. I really appreciate it.
Great.
To ensure that you never miss an episode of the B2B Growth Show, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device.
If you'd like to connect with B2B executives from all over the world, make sure to join our private Facebook community. There are some incredible conversations happening inside this group. To join, visit b2bgrowthshow.com/FB.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.